Quickly coming up on 5:17. Let's check back in with next weather meteorologist Joseph Dames. I'm curious to hear what the weather watchers are going to be saying this morning, because when you talk temperatures that are 70 degrees right now, Joseph, that's going to get a lot of people's attention.
I think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be quite excited. It's nice to have it tucked into our Wednesday as well. So, just something to kind of look forward to during the work week, right? Temperatures this morning are in the 40s and 30s nearby. It is quite mild for us right now. You'll notice 42 up to the northeast, and I have 39 down to the south there. As I stretch it out a little bit, we take an extended view across the state. I have temperatures in the 30s up north. So not bad. Cool spot 35 just off towards the east. We'll just take a look at maybe one of these and then we'll move on. I have 43 just north of Phyllis, but Phyllis is coming in at 39 in Farmington. All right, what's next? Let's talk about what we have going on. Well, today's going to feel like May, all right? It's like we're just going a couple months forward in time because it is going to be pushing 70. That is a temperature that would happen in the month of May for us for an afternoon high temperature, not now in the month of March. So, hey, we'll take it while it's here. It's not going to stay. There's going to be some changes very quickly as early as tonight, all right? Tonight, a front moves in. It's actually going to start sagging down to the south, increasing our chances for some showers by the time we head into early tomorrow morning. By the time you wake up for work, we'll probably have a little something around here. Not for everybody. I'm going to show you on the map, as I mentioned earlier. Followed by some big wind and a big chill on Friday and into Saturday. We're going to have some stronger wind, and we're going to have temperatures dropping, and we're going to have wind chills that are probably down into the 20s to wrap up the week. So up and down, up and down. That's all we're doing this week, all right? Sometimes temperatures are going to be on the warmer side, other times on the cooler side. 56 out of Grand Rapids, though, for today. So warmer today, obviously. Brainerd at 63. I have temperatures approaching 70 as we start heading south. Maybe not quite there for Alexandria, but the rest of the area is definitely going to be warming on up. Hastings today, we're going to go with 70. Red Wing today at 71. And Owatonna stretching up to Northfield, Faribault, and extending into LeSueur County there. Those temperatures also likely in the lower 70s. Okay, let's get back to the weather watchers. This is a 37-degree report coming out of Ortonville from Margaret's Spot this morning, and I just thought that this is a good one. The mercury in the thermometer is getting a daily workout again. It will be jumping up as we go through the day, more of a traditional way to get the temperature there. But it is going to be working out. It's going to have to go a little bit higher for today with those temperatures working into the lower 70s. All the action will be along this stationary front. You can see it on our satellite and radar. Where's the moisture? Where's the colder air? Where's, some of the, just cloud cover? It's all going to be north along that border there. And so everything's going to stay kind of concentrated there until that front sinks down, and it will do that later tonight heading into tomorrow morning. Now, I think we just get passing clouds for the day today, but here comes the rain, and I definitely think that this is more going to be the 94 corridor and north as we work through our Thursday morning, with not that much really making it south of the cities tomorrow. And then on the back edge heading into Friday morning when it really gets chilly, there could be a couple flurries, but I don't think we're really going to get much out of this system as far as snow goes. It's more just going to end up being rain. All right, we're down to 39, though, on Friday. Yes, it's sunny, but it is going to be cold, but we rebound back to the 50s on Saturday for the weekend, mid-60s on Sunday, and we sit in the 60s for at least 3 days with some pretty nice weather heading into early next week.
Yeah, that sounds like really nice weather. All right, Joseph, thank you.
New this morning, legal service providers are challenging what they call discriminatory fast-tracking policy targeting Somali immigrants. The lawsuit filed on Tuesday challenges a new Trump administration policy, which according to the lawsuit is fast-tracking Somali asylum cases. They say this is being made possible by the use of virtual hearings scheduled with out-of-state judges. Legal service providers say these cases are complex and these short timelines make it nearly impossible for attorneys to do their jobs. Now, the Department of Justice has said there is no fast tracking, but did say that any immigration judge can hear any case at any time throughout the country to assist with caseloads. Now let's head to the latest from the live desk. Maria Lizignoli joins us now. And Maria, you're following a really scary case where investigators say a student was armed with a gun at St. Cloud State University.
Yes, police at the university tell us the student made serious threats and was arrested in class with a gun in his bag. 29-year-old Romello Lloyd is facing felony charges. Investigators say Lloyd threatened to shoot other students, specifically members of a fraternity that he was rejected from. This arrest happened Monday. The university alerted students about the situation a day later when students and staff received this email that said public safety and local law enforcement responded to a credible threat, leaving students with questions and concerns yesterday.
I feel like they should have put us into lockdown if they knew something like this could have was going on.
So you're surprised they didn't maybe send out an email
daring maybe stay inside, because they didn't tell us anything.
I do feel like more precautions should have happened.
In a message to students, the university president said Lloyd was not wielding the gun openly in front of students, saying had that been the case, the university would have issued a campus alert, adding that when they learned about the threat, the student was immediately contained, arrested, and trespassed from campus. WCCO found Lloyd does have a criminal history. I'm going to be digging into that in the next half hour.
Yeah, definitely troubling to say the least, but just glad that everyone is safe.
Truly,
under
yeah.
the circumstances. All right, Maria, thank you. About 2 years after a deadly ambush in Burnsville, questions still remain about how or why it happened. And now newly shared evidence is giving us a clear picture of the man who killed 3 first responders. Police officers Matthew Ruge and Paul Elmstrand, along with paramedic Adam Finseth, were killed in the line of duty. This was in February of 2024. We heard from the families of those fallen first responders last night, and out of their respect, out of their wishes, we are no longer showing the body camera video from that day.
Now Uba Ali is focusing on what we're learning from messages and photos of weapons in the possession of a gunman legally barred from having them.
A Facebook post made 14 days before the shooting shows a tagged photo placing Shannon Gooden at a gun range. It's just one of thousands of photos reviewed by the BCA in this case. Another photo, a platinum membership card to a gun range and firearm shop in his name. There's also text messages in one thread talking about gun purchases. All of this despite Gooden being a convicted felon who wasn't allowed to have firearms. Then there's what was found in the home. Multiple guns and an arsenal of ammunition. Receipts like these tied to firearm purchases made by Ashley Deardahl. Deardahl was convicted in federal court for buying the high-powered firearms that Gooden used in the shootings. Despite knowing that he couldn't possess them, she was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison. A call for help with 7 children inside this home brought first responders here and ultimately ended in tragedy. Police officers Matthew Ruge and Paul Elmstrand and paramedic Adam Finseth were killed. Sergeant Adam Medlicott survived after being shot. Hours after a gun battle, Gooden took his own life. Tonight, the city of Burnsville says they recognize that this release will be difficult for many in the community, but call the actions of all first responders that morning heroic and ultimately saved 7 children. Uba Ali, WCCO News.
The families of those fallen first responders say they are proud of the men they were and they miss them every day.
In a joint statement, the family says, in part, quote, "We want Adam, Matt, and Paul to be remembered for how they lived, how they loved, and how they served, not for the violence of their final moments."
Turning now to the war with Iran. This morning, hundreds of American troops are preparing to be deployed to the Middle East. It comes as President Trump says the U.S. is in negotiation with Iran to end the war. On Tuesday, President Trump suggested Iran is offering a, quote, present involving oil, gas in the Strait of Hormuz. And while President Trump says negotiations are underway, a spokesperson for Iran's military suggested the U.S. was negotiating with itself.
There are mediators, other countries that are carrying messages in between the two. We think there's been some contact, some direct contact, but it hasn't been very significant.
This all comes as the Senate failed once again on a vote on a War Powers Act to rein in the war.
The time is 6:07, and for the first time, CBS News is speaking with the husband of Master Sergeant Nicole Amer. The Army reservist from White Bear Lake was killed in an Iranian drone strike in Kuwait. Her husband, Joey, spoke with Jonah Kaplan, sharing how he learned of the tragic news.
2:39, I sent her a text. I said, I'm getting worried. I'm getting worried. We're getting reports of the sustainment unit, 3 casualties, 5 injured. I'm gonna need to hear something from you today, my love. hour and a half later, they were walking up my driveway.
You can watch Jonah's interview with Amer today. That's on CBS Mornings starting at 7 a.m.
Today at the state capitol, a hearing on the new paid leave program. State Republicans have proposed 3 bills to change the law. It includes exempting super small employers with fewer than 15 workers, also exempting elected officials, both state and local, from getting the benefits. As of the last paid leave update from DEED on March 15th, 34,000 Minnesotans have been approved for the program this year. These bills will need Democrat support to pass because of the tied House structure, and that's unlikely.
Is Jersey Mike's 16th annual month of giving. Today is a big day. That's because Jersey Mike's locations across the country, they are giving 100% of the day sales, 100%, not just the profits, to the 2026 Special Olympics USA Games, which take place right here. They'll also give funds to the local state programs attending the USA Games. They're hoping to break last year's month of total giving. That was $30 million. Just a reminder again, Special Olympics happening here in the Twin Cities come June. Still looking for volunteers, so if you'd like to get involved, check out a Jersey Mike's, and they got some opportunities for you too.
This is a pretty nice forecast, but I think Friday's going to feel pretty cold because wind chills will be in the 20s Friday morning.
Yeah.
So we have to prep mentally for it, especially after a day like today.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, though, nice.
We are following a scary situation that took place at St. Cloud State University where a student made serious threats and was arrested in class with a gun on his back. So this is his picture, 29-year-old Romello Lloyd. He is facing felony charges. Investigators say Lloyd threatened to shoot other students, specifically members of a fraternity that he was rejected from. The arrest happened Monday. The university alerted students about the situation a day later when students and staff received an email saying public safety and local law enforcement responded to a credible threat. That's the email right there. Students we spoke with had questions and concerns.
I feel like they should have put us into lockdown if they knew something like this could have was going on.
So you're surprised they didn't maybe send out an email
daring maybe stay inside because they didn't tell us anything.
I do feel like more precautions should have happened.
In a message to students, the university president said Lloyd was not wielding the gun openly in front of students, saying had that been the case, the university would have issued a campus alert, adding that when they learned about the threat, the student was immediately contained, arrested, and trespassed from campus. Happening today, a heroic young Minneapolis boy will be recognized with a national honor. Victor Greenwald will receive the Young Hero Citizen Award by the Congressional Medal of Honor Society. The society chose him for his heroic acts during the Annunciation Catholic school shooting when Victor laid on top of his 10-year-old classmate. Both children were hurt. The award will be presented later today in Washington, D.C. Minnesota officials are suing the Trump administration once again.
This time for withholding evidence related to 3 shootings during the ICE surge. Now, that includes the deadly shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Federal agents shot and killed them in Minneapolis in January. The other shooting involved Julio Cesar Sosa Celis. He was hurt in a shooting by federal agents during the same operation. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison say that the federal government has repeatedly blocked their attempts to get evidence. They say the lack of cooperation and this lawsuit are unprecedented.
This is an alarming change from the historical practice of evidence sharing and undermines our rights as a sovereign state under the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution to investigate and enforce criminal behavior.
The lawsuit was filed in federal district court in Washington, D.C. It specifically names the Justice Department, the Department of Homeland Security, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and former DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
Legal service providers are challenging what they call discriminatory fast-tracking policy targeting Somali immigrants. The lawsuit filed on Tuesday challenges a new Trump administration policy, which, according to the lawsuit, is fast-tracking Somali asylum cases. They say this is being made possible by the use of virtual hearings scheduled with out-of-state judges. Legal service providers say these cases are complex, and these short timelines make it nearly impossible for attorneys to do their job. The Justice Department has said there is no fast tracking, but did say that any immigration judge can hear any case at any time throughout the country to assist with caseloads.
IRS has already received almost 70 million tax returns.
Of those, more than 50 million taxpayers have received a refund, averaging about $3,600. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to tell us why you should hit that pause button before spending that extra cash. Jill, great to see you as always. Now, you've said this before. Getting a refund, you say this is a bad idea. Explain why you say that's a bad idea to get a refund.
I know everyone loves this idea of it's found money, but it's not finding money. It's your money. You just gave Uncle Sam an interest-free loan for a whole year. That is the lousiest deal I could imagine. So we want you to keep more of your money throughout the year. You go to irs.gov. They've got a great tool there. It's a withholding estimator. So use that tool. Then you go to your employer. You adjust your withholding so you can have larger paychecks throughout the year. That's going to help you meet your week-to-week and month-to-month expenses. Now, if you're self-employed, you may want to consider reducing your quarterly tax payments for the same reason. Again, keep more of the money. You didn't find money. This is your money.
When you put it like that, Jill, it makes a lot of sense. So, okay, this return, it's too late to make that adjustment. What should folks do with the cash on hand this year?
Well, I think with gas prices rising, I would certainly keep a bunch of that cash on hand just to absorb that shock at the pumps. Then, of course, I like to invoke my big three. How about using some of that refund to, number one, fund an emergency reserve account that can cover 6 to 12 months of your living expenses. Number two, reduce high interest debt like credit card debt. Interest rates are going to stay high for a while here, gang. And number three, if you've got 1 and 2 done, maybe you boost your retirement plan contributions, especially if you have a match. If you don't have a plan through work, then open up and use a traditional or Roth IRA.
Okay, Jill, so I've heard a lot of people like maybe using some of that refund to maybe put some money into their mortgage. Is that a good idea based on what you just said, or not so much?
So, you know, it's weird. Like this, again, this is like the peace of mind category, but it really depends on your interest rate. Just think about this. About half of homeowners have mortgages that are under 4%. Now, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because if you take the money that you were using to pay down the mortgage and invest it for the future, you're probably going to do better than 4% over time.
Yeah.
And I think more importantly, when you pay down a mortgage, you're losing access to that money. And as you get older, that money can provide stability, and it actually might be necessary to fund health and medical needs. That liquidity is really important.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Jill, thanks as always.
Hey, and you can see Jill regularly on CBS Mornings and the CBS Evening News. And for more analysis, go to JillOnMoney.com. Each year, almost 6,000 babies in the U.S. are born with some level of permanent hearing loss.
Some children also experience hearing loss later in childhood. Hearing loss can affect a child's ability to do several things, develop communication, language, social skills as well. So here to talk about the benefits of hearing screenings is Kelsey Dumont. You are an audiologist at Children's Minnesota?
I am.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's start with this, because I'm thinking back to when my son was in the hospital. You always go through that test, that standard hearing test. Everything worked out well. But what happens if a child does not necessarily pass that newborn screening?
Yeah. So a lot of the times it does work out well, like you said, but about 7% of babies in Minnesota don't pass that initial newborn hearing screening. If a child doesn't pass that initial newborn hearing screening, we'd recommend a repeat hearing screening as soon as possible, or ideally by 1 month of age. If a baby doesn't pass that repeat or subsequent hearing screening, again, we'd recommend as soon as possible. But this time, instead of a screening, a diagnostic hearing test with an audiologist. Ideally, that would occur by 3 months of age. That way, if we find any concerns or hearing loss, we can initiate early intervention by 6 months of age. And there's really a wealth of research that supports those 1 month, 3 month, 6 month goals in terms of best outcomes for long-term development, whether it's speech and language, educational attainment, or even psychosocial development.
Yeah. Is this something that, let's say the newborn does pass, is this something they can develop later on?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a great number of children that develop hearing loss at any point in childhood. And often parents or caregivers are really the first to notice those changes in hearing. So things that I would urge or encourage parents or caregivers to look for are a lack of interest in sound. So toys that produce music, turning the TV up loud, turning the radio up loud, frequently asking, huh, or what, asking for repetition, not startling to loud sounds, or issues with speech and language development. So they're not speaking clearly or they're not speaking at all. If a parent or a caregiver is seeing any of those things, I would encourage them to speak with their pediatrician about a repeat hearing screening or a referral to an audiologist for a diagnostic hearing test.
Well, what about ear infections, especially in young kids? Can ear infections, can that lead to hearing loss?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the big factors that does cause hearing loss after a past newborn hearing screening. And most of the time, ear infections or hearing loss from ear infections is temporary.
Okay.
Whether it's non-infected middle ear fluid or infected middle ear fluid. But even those temporary losses can cause some of those longer term detriments like delays in speech and language development or inattention in school. So if a child's having ear infections, I would encourage them, again, talk with your pediatrician and see if a referral to an audiologist and an ear, nose, and throat specialist would be recommended. That way the audiologist can assess the hearing or any impacts of the ear infections or the middle ear fluid on the hearing and speech and language development, and work with the ear, nose, and throat provider to assess whether any treatment or intervention like PE tubes would be recommended.
And like you said too, the earlier you're able to catch that, the better off your outcome's going to be.
Absolutely.
Okay. Kelsey, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
As the weather begins to warm up here in Minnesota, many are eager to get back outside, and for some that means heading to the golf course. Hey, but golf is not just a recreational activity.
No, it's not. Research actually suggests spending time outdoors, especially for activities like golf, can have significant benefits for our mental health and our relationships. So we've got Dr. Michael Walker here to explain why hitting the links, it may be better for than just your scorecard. First up, I just want to say this. I thought for sure for the file footage, I thought for sure we're going to have you
swinging
on the links for that file footage.
I mean, we don't want to see that too often, right? Hidden footage, that's got to stay hidden. No, but I think you're right on point around the mental health that helps with being outside, right? We think about it. Golf helps us be physical. It helps us be out in nature, and then there's their social interaction parts, which we know, as you said, research connects that to decrease in anxiety, depression. It also decreases stress and the hormone of cortisol, while also increasing your attention and focus. So it's just some definitely benefits to golfing.
I imagine it helps and encourages mindfulness too, because it's a sport of patience. You know, you got to be quiet while the other person's swinging. Talk about that.
Yeah, of course. When we think about it, it's like 4 hours that you're out there on the golf course, right? So golf is naturally a slowed down sport. So you're looking at like one shot at a time. So in between those shots, you're taking a lot of deep breaths. You're walking to your ball, hopefully not too far away from the fairway. But it gives you moments to kind of think and relax. And those are all connected to mental health or mindfulness practices and strategies.
I would think this has got to matter a little differently in Minnesota too, because I know we have our change of seasons and I know we love to get out in the wintertime and do things. But when it comes to the change of seasons, this matters differently in Minnesota. There's something different about it, being able to see the grass and being able to enjoy those natures without the snow. We really enjoy our seasons.
We definitely do. And the sun coming out and being strong, right? That also fills our body up, right? So it's just being out in the space, having that moment to connect with folks. I mean, we think about relationships. I mean, you're out there for 4 hours.
With people,
right? So you're with your friends, you could be with your families, you can also be with your professionals, right? So building those professional relationships. And so I think all those things are connected. I think about this past weekend, I went out with my force on my crew, Jabbar, Keenan, and Allman. And, you know, luckily I got the first birdie of the season. So I get to talk all the trash in the world.
Like right now.
Hey, look, like right now, right now. I don't know. However, though, now 2 holes later, I was in the cart. My score in the cart was called cart, and that basically means that I had so many bad shots, I didn't go to the green to putt. Let me sit down. So we think about mental health. Yeah, we think about mental health. It makes you think about all the bad shots, all the good shots, but how can you be resilient through those moments, right? Along the course of an entire round of golf. So it's fun.
That's a beautiful way to put it and look at it. it's a simple thing you can do to improve your mental health.
Yes.
Talk about the simplicity of it doesn't have to be a huge life change.
No, not at all. Right? I think sometimes we think we got to do these big,
Yeah.
huge changes, but it can be something small, like you said, going out, picking up a golf set of clubs, and going out and hitting the links, and hit the ball a little bit. Hopefully, you stay in the fairway. But there's other things that we can do outside of just these big, huge changes to get our mental health right. Right. Some of that is just spending time with friends and families, having these long conversations to talk about what we may be struggling with or what we may be excited about, and those moments can be very helpful.
What I'm hearing though from this conversation though is that golf, honestly, it's almost just the venue. It sounds like the getting out that's the purpose of this, because I think about golf too. Golf is such a mental game.
Yes.
You can get in your own head, and there can be detriments to golf as well, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes, sure can.
this is just like the vehicle to get people together, to have those conversations, to enjoy that time outside. That's what this sounds like to me.
Exactly, you're exactly right on AJ. Right, exactly.
Because I'm not golfing look, if I'm golfing, I'm going to the driving range.
I haven't done that yet. I didn't go to the driveway. That's why that second hole was not so good, right?
Well, Dr. Walker, we appreciate you as always. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Spring Parade of Homes is now underway. It's a chance for you to explore local neighborhoods and check out some trends in some really incredible homes. Kristen Crossman from Housing First Minnesota joins us now. It's been so fun to look at these homes this morning. Oh my goodness. So Kristen, thank you for being here. Can you tell us a little bit of what people can expect from this year's?
Absolutely. So we have over 300 homes available to tour on the Spring Parade of Homes. These homes are ranging in price. We have homes from the $300,000 level all the way up into the multi-millions, those dream homes. Ranging in style. There's kind of something for everyone out on the tour this spring.
One thing that I noticed when looking at the website this year too, you've got the Dream Homes tab, you've got the Homes tab up there. There's also a tab that has Rochester homes up there. That's something that's new.
It is new. We are down in Rochester this spring, officially part of the Parade of Homes map. We're super excited to partner with Rochester area builders to make that possible. So there's a handful of homes to tour down in the Rochester area as well this spring.
Okay, so you do have a couple homes to show us. Yes. Stillwater is the first one. That's where we're looking?
Yep. So first we're going to see a home from Cotinia Homes. This is one of those dream homes that we talked about. Absolutely gorgeous. The builder describes this home as a blend of traditional and modern, which is usually kind of opposing, clashing, but it just blends so seamlessly in this home. Something else I love about this home is it's a great mix of entertaining, hosting spaces, but it also has that everyday life functionality to it as well. Just great gathering spaces as a family, really great storage options, really great home.
Yeah, I'd like to gather in that movie theater right there. Or like that basketball area too.
Oh, super fun.
Okay, so this is the first home here. It looks incredible inside. I understand there's a second home down in Lake Elmo.
Yeah, so now we're going to see a home from Robert Thomas Homes. And this is going to be kind of more of that traditional single family home that you might expect to see out on the tour. Great home. Again, kind of that mix of functionable space, but also great for hosting. Has a really nice flow to it. Something about this home that I really love is, as you can see, it has some really great style design elements. So it doesn't sacrifice that to get that functionality throughout the home.
That is nice to see. I understand the remodel is showcase that wraps up this weekend.
It's the final weekend of the tour. Yes, correct.
How does that work? Walk people through that.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same idea as the parade. So you're able to go into these real remodeling projects. It's free. You can talk to the remodelers, kind of ask your questions. Maybe you're getting ready to remodel your own space. You're looking for inspiration. That's your opportunity to kind of see those real remodeling projects.
I love some of those kitchens too. I was looking through those kitchens. I was like, remodel this, remodel this, remodel this. Like it's all you can. But I love this too because you can get inspiration for whatever your home may be, because it may not fit in your home. But either way, it's a great idea for sure.
Okay, so where can folks learn more? Where can they get tickets? All that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. paradeofhomes.org is going to be kind of your first stop. We have our guidebooks. If you are looking for something that you want to kind of carry around as you tour, that's a great resource. There's also the Parade of Homes app, which is kind of our on-the-go as you're touring tool.
You talked about functionality in some of the homes. Is there a trend that stands out to you this year compared to other years that you've seen?
You know, I would say one of my favorite trends that we're seeing is the use of texture throughout the home. So previously in the last couple of years, we saw a lot of color. That was kind of the trend, a lot of bold colors, wallpapers, things like that. We're still seeing that for sure, but kind of more of those raw elements, stone, metal, wood. things like that to kind of add that pop and that flair to a space.
Okay, something to look for when you're going to the tour yourself.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, Kristen, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Just a reminder, Spring Parade of Homes runs Friday through Sundays, noon to 6 p.m. through April 12th, and we will include a link when we post this segment on our website, WCCO.com.
IRS has already received almost 70 million tax returns.
Of those, more than 50 million taxpayers have received a refund, averaging about $3,600. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to tell us why you should hit that pause button before spending that extra cash. Jill, great to see you as always. Now, you've said this before. Getting a refund, you say this is a bad idea. Explain why you say that's a bad idea to get a refund.
I know everyone loves this idea of it's found money, but it's not finding money. It's your money. You just gave Uncle Sam an interest-free loan for a whole year. That is the lousiest deal I could imagine. So we want you to keep more of your money throughout the year. You go to irs.gov. They've got a great tool there. It's a withholding estimator. So use that tool. Then you go to your employer. You adjust your withholding so you can have larger paychecks throughout the year. That's going to help you meet your week-to-week and month-to-month expenses. Now, if you're self-employed, you may want to consider reducing your quarterly tax payments for the same reason. Again, keep more of the money. You didn't find money. This is your money.
When you put it like that, Jill, it makes a lot of sense. So, okay, this return, it's too late to make that adjustment. What should folks do with the cash on hand this year?
Well, I think with gas prices rising, I would certainly keep a bunch of that cash on hand just to absorb that shock at the pubs. Then, of course, I like to invoke my big three. How about using some of that refund to, number one, fund an emergency reserve account that can cover 6 to 12 months of your living expenses. Number two, reduce high interest debt like credit card debt. Interest rates are going to stay high for a while here, gang. And number three, if you've got 1 and 2 done, maybe you boost your retirement plan contributions, especially if you have a match. If you don't have a plan through work, then open up and use a traditional or a Roth IRA.
Okay, Jill, so I've heard a lot of people like maybe using some of that refund to maybe put some money into their mortgage. Is that a good idea based on what you just said, or not so much?
So, you know, it's weird. Like this, again, this is like the peace of mind category, but it really depends on your interest rate. Just think about this. About half of homeowners have mortgages that are under 4%. Now, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because if you take the money that you were using to pay down the mortgage and invest it for the future, you're probably going to do better than 4% over time.
Yeah.
And I think more importantly, when you pay down a mortgage, you're losing access to that money. And as you get older, that money can provide.
So before the Easter Bunny goes hopping down the bunny trail, little bunny foo-foo hopping through the forest, why not have a little family fun with a little Easter egg scientist? The one and only kitchen pantry scientist, Liz Heineke, is here. I will not be handling any eggs today, based on what happened before. If you were here 2 years ago, there may be some egg back here on the screen someplace, but we don't need to focus on that.
Well, the Little Bunny Foo-Foo song's kind of violent, really. Like he's bopping him on the head, right?
Wow.
You're starting it off with like, okay, I'll give you an egg.
Strong.
We're starting
violence today.
Okay, so the science of making a perfect hard-boiled egg.
You know how to do it.
I do.
Okay.
So eggs, raw eggs, the yolk is like 50% fat and protein, 50% water. The white is 90% water and 10% protein. When you boil it, they're globular proteins, but when you boil them, the bonds kind of fall apart and they start to like get all stuck to each other, and it sort of expels some of the water. So you go from this to this. It's called the white's denaturing.
Oh, interesting.
If you cook it too long, it keeps expelling water and getting tighter and tighter, and that's when your eggs get rubbery. If it cooks too long also, the iron in the yolks reacts with the sulfur in the whites, and you get that blue-green. Have you ever seen that like green around the yolk?
Yeah.
So the key is, according to experts, the best hard-boiled egg, boil water, put the eggs in for about 12 minutes, take them out and put them in an ice bath to stop the cooking. And you can see I did these last night. no blue, right?
Yeah,
Well, but that's a good way to know. If you see the greenish blue in there, you know that they've been cooking for
cooked too long.
Yeah.
Also, the older eggs are, the easier they are to peel. So fresh eggs are really hard to peel. They're just like more acidic, and the peel sticks on more tight. The shell sticks on more tightly.
That's a good note to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ice bath.
Yeah. So I see you got some interesting egg dyes here.
Okay, I
pretty.
love this. I saw this online. People kept send me science experiments all the time, and I was like, this is super cool. So I forgot my herbs, but basically you're using onion skins, which are a natural dye.
Okay.
You take raw eggs, and I'm going to deconstruct one to show you. You stick herbs or like plants in water. You dip them in water, stick them onto the egg white, and then you put it inside a nylon. And then you can knot the end, or you can use rubber bands. So you can see this one I did here. Then you put it in water with onion skins, like a couple tablespoons of vinegar, a little dash of salt. You boil it for about 15 minutes. So these are going to be a little more rubbery.
Yeah.
But then you just put the lid on. You let it sit for another hour or overnight, so the dye can really bond to the egg yolks.
Okay.
Then when you peel them, you can see the herbs on here, right?
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Then when you peel them,
Take them off?
You peel these off.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful?
That's
Can the camera
really
see
interesting
that?
yeah.
Yeah, they're just gorgeous. And this is partly because plant leaves have a little bit of wax on them, so that helps like stick them to the yolk and it like repels the water.
Yeah.
But I think
really
they're very
pretty.
Martha Stewart, right?
Yeah, very
it's
much
like
so.
gorgeous.
Okay. We've got about a minute left.
Okay.
And I see you. Oh, here we go with fire.
Okay, here we go. Well, I'm not going to let you be bored, AJ.
I'm never bored. You can never be bored with you. Come on.
All right. So these eggs, if I tried to like stuff them into the bottles behind them, they wouldn't fit. They're just a little too big.
Right.
And these are just juice bottles from Trader Joe's, I think, like grape juice bottles.
Okay. Sure.
But we can use atmospheric pressure. So the weight of the air in the atmosphere is always pushing on us from all directions. And we can use atmospheric pressure to push these eggs up into the bottle. So I'm going to have each of you pick up a bottle.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to put it over the eggs. Like put it over the candles like this and just gently rest it on the eggs. What's going to happen? The flame's going to go out, right? It's burning up all the oxygen. When the flame goes out, the temperature drops. And atmospheric pressure, you can lift it up off the, will push the egg up into there it goes. It's going.
It's doing it.
Oh yeah. But if you,
So cool. Yo, that is so
so
cool.
fun, right? Yeah.
It's so fun.
And if you're doing hard-boiled eggs, like dyeing them for Easter with your kids, this is a great project to kind of do alongside it, make it even like more exciting, right?
That is
I like
See,
that.
this is why we bring you back. We didn't even need to get the model to wall dirty today. Everything is clean.
Hard-boiled eggs for you from now on.
Yes, that's the key.